Hello there. I'm Koios, Rōnin BeatMaker. And welcome to Lounge Rōnin. All things, everything. And if you are new to the channel, please make sure to hit that like button. Ring that notification bell and subscribe. And please make sure at the end to leave a comment with your thoughts below and sprinkle in a little bit of that constructive criticism, as that will help me and the channel grow. And on this episode of Lounge Rōnin, we're going to discuss Cascadia, the lost continent. Now, this is news to me. I've never heard of this continent or anything regarding this mythos. So I hope you guys are up for a little light introduction to a new mystery. So without further ado, let's get into it. I apologize if my voice sounds a little off. I was at the Grifties over the weekend. Shout out to Hotep Nation. So my voice might sound a little scraggly. But I'm here for you guys, and I want to make sure I can keep on getting good content out there for you guys to enjoy and to learn and to do your own research and uncover all sorts of wild, hidden history of our world. So here we go. Cascadia, the other lost continent. Part 1. Updated August 25th, 2016 by D.W. Naff. It was said that the end came without warning. Once, long ago, as the people slept, the sun came out at night. It shot a flaming arrow across the heavens, which burst into thousands of fragments, which then fell to the earth. The people were started out of their sleep by a rumbling and quaking of the earth. The skies above them were on fire. The waters of the lakes and oceans rose. Soon the waves became mountains of water that rose against the shores. The sun was blotted out, and darkness covered the great green land and water. Terrified, the people ran into the hills to get away from the pounding water. For days the earth rumbled and quaked. Torrents of rain began coming down so fiercely that water sprouted out from the ground everywhere, overflowing the creeks and rivers. The people who knew where there was caves high up in the mountain fled to it and saved themselves. All those who stayed behind were drowned. It rained for a long, long time until all the valleys and lowlands became one churning sea. Only the tops of the highest mountains remained uncovered, where the people stood, huddled together, listening to the wails below, as countless bodies were tossed upon the angry waves and then sank to the graves in the unknown depths. Then a rain of ashes began to fall. Here we have an image of the deluge, illustrated by Léon Comray in the late 19th century. Man, that's one hell of an introduction. Let's keep getting at it. Legends of Lost Lands. Most people have heard about the fabled lost continents of Atlantis and Lemuria. From the earlier century, alternative history writers have been busy following a puzzling trail of historical and archaeological curiosities which suggest the existence of a high civilization that was wiped out by some kind of prehistoric cataclysm and virtually erased from human memory. The youngest driest impact, many have won. Shout out to Graham Hancock, Randall Carlson. The opening passage sounds like one of those countless descriptions chronicling the fall of Atlantis or Lemuria in a deluge, but this is, in fact, a description of a cataclysm which devastated the Pacific Northwest during prehistoric times, and was recorded in lore and oral traditions of Northwestern Native Americans. Exploring the edges of a lost and forgotten land is an exciting dream and journey. For as long as I can remember, I've been fascinated by the visionary concepts of the lost civilizations of Atlantis and Lemuria. But my own interrogations into the mysteries of the past did not lead me to wander as far afield as other researchers have strayed. Well, that's a relief to hear. Someone who's interested in the fantastical, but is approaching it with a balanced perspective. Something that is healthy, and we need more of that nowadays. When I began researching historical mysteries and lost continents over a decade ago, I didn't have the faintest idea that I was living amidst one of the oldest, most mysterious, and most stunningly scenic places on the face of the planet. And here we have an image that's connecting to the Northwest and others. And it says, Mount Shata's Forgotten History and Legends, 2016. Yachas, Oregon. At one time, approximately 12,000 years ago, much of the land along the Pacific coast extended miles further out to sea than it does today. These areas sank beneath the waters of the ocean as rising sea levels caused by catastrophic mega floods. Looking back, I realize now that I no longer have to dream of exploring fabled lost lands somewhere far across the world's oceans. Give me a second, guys. Little technical difficulty. Okay, I gotta refresh it. Alrighty. Sorry about this. I apologize. Okay, and we're back. Hopefully. Yep, okay, we're good. Looking back, I realize now that I no longer have to dream of exploring fabled lost lands, somewhere far across the world's oceans. North America has its own lost and forgotten continent, whose mysterious legends, history, and great monuments stand out in their own right. This is a land which belongs uniquely to itself. It's not necessary to invoke visions of Atlantis or Lemuria in order to define its grandeur or reality or make it into something it never was. I would have to agree with that. If you've listened to some of my previous live streams in the past where I've discussed the North American giants and their civilizations and cultures, a little light dive into that, and you'll realize that through those live streams that they had incredible cities and infrastructure. And if you've ever heard of like the mounds of North America, I'm sure someone out there has heard of them. You know, they're technically pyramids. They don't call them pyramids, but if you were to realize that they're these massive burial grounds with 9 foot, 10 foot tall giants buried inside them with all these ancient jewelry and weapons, you begin to realize that North America has its fair share of mysteries. And you may think that what I'm saying is kind of fantastical and nonsensical, but you go check out the live streams or you go online and you do archivals for old newspaper articles from the 1900s, 1800s, and the amount of articles you'll get talking about giant bones and all these weird structures found throughout the North America, you begin to realize there's some level of truth going on here. So that's just something to keep in mind, if you're someone who's really interested in learning more about North America. There are plenty of mysteries to be held, especially in Florida. Florida has these mound pyramids there. There's a lot of really fascinating history with Florida. West Virginia, they got some giant stuff there that's been happening back in the early 1900s and 1800s. Trying to think of what other areas. But I mean, even Abraham Lincoln, when he made his speech at Niagara Falls, he was speaking about giants and these fantastical cities and whatnot. So just something to keep in mind as you make your way through this very propagandized and obfuscated world. So here we have an image that states the spectacular scenery and geology of Washington State, Columbia's Gorge was created by cataclysmic flooding which scoured the region over its destructive path towards the Pacific Ocean, creating dramatic landscapes found nowhere else on Earth. Okay. Cascadia, a vast, dark green land of mystery. Here in the Western Hemisphere, there exists a vast, dark green mountainous wilderness of deep mystery and astonishing beauty, which stretches along the coast for more than 1,000 miles. Although the land has been arbitrarily carved up into 6 states, those who have lived in this region since time immemorial know that it is really one great green land. Oh wow, that's actually really beautiful. Yeah, that's real pretty. You have death and life meeting in one place. It's beautiful. So here we have Mount Shataz's Forgotten History and Legends 2016, Peleus Falls, Washington. Evidence of a prehistoric deluge can be seen throughout the Cascadia region. The region's plunging waterfalls, flood-carved landscapes, and steep-walled canyons were created by glacial mega floods. The Pacific Northwest is labeled coined to describe a piece of real estate rather than a real place. It was imposed on this land by the US Congress and railroad companies during an ad campaign to promote the region as an attractive place to industrialize and live. In an effort to dissolve imaginary national boundaries, writers and activists began referring to the Pacific Northwest as Cascadia as far back to the early 80s. Okay, so here we have a map of Cascadia, a great green land. It's a McCloskey map of Cascadia from 2015. At the time, few people besides geologists had ever heard of the term. But today, a growing number of people are learning and speaking about the Cascadia region, calling it the land of falling waters. Some people are even beginning to call themselves Cascadians. Everybody wants to be nice and bougie. Here we have an image of Mount Shasta's Forgotten History and Legends, 2016. This is Dry Falls Lake, Washington. At 5 times the width of Niagara Falls, Dry Falls is believed to be the greatest known waterfall on the face of the planet. It was created by a catastrophic flood around the land of the last ice age. It is estimated that the amount of water once flowing over Dry Falls amounted to 10 times the current volume in all the rivers in the world combined. Damn. And, a lot of this, it just, if you've listened to, Graham Hancock, or if you've seen his show on Netflix, Randall Carlson, they're always talking about these incredible cataclysms and the reshaping of continents, of civilizations. And it just kind of makes me think about the pyramids off the coast of Cuba. There's this massive city underwater off the coast of Cuba. You can go online, you can look it up right now. Pyramids, underwater in Cuba. They'll pop right up. And it's a massive city. So, you have to think about the fact that, okay, well, what were the sea levels at that time, or did that city sink to the ground, sink underwater? It's really fascinating when you really kind of think about, how much of these ancient, advanced civilizations that, have occupied this planet, how much of their history is just completely eradicated because of these cataclysms. So, we're unable to really delve into our history. And it'd be no different if we had a massive cataclysm similar to these that happened right now. And the people who remained, as civilization reestablished itself, they'll be looking around and seeing all of our skyscrapers that are left and thinking to themselves, there must have been some advanced civilization that occupied this entire world. So, I just think that, like, when it comes to these parts of history, we have to kind of think about, well, who were occupying these lands? Because if you know anything about, like, the Denisovans, they were essentially, like, cave people, but they were also making intricate jewelry, mathematically intricate designs of jewelry. They were advanced people, and they lived during the time of the Ice Age. There's many documented evidence of people living at that time. And then all of a sudden, you have these massive cataclysms that occur and wipe out these civilizations, wipe out these versions of humanity, so to speak. So I think it's really fascinating and very telling that, you know, I know some people might speculate that these cataclysms happen on purpose, these resetting of civilization. And who knows? Put on your tinfoil hat, you just might be surprised. It could be reality. It's no different than what many of the governments are doing right now to the people, trying to reset and re-educate this civilization at the expense and cost of untold number of lives. Who is it to say that that was not the case then either? Especially when you think about the underground cities in Turkey. Supposedly they have tunnels that connect all the way to Ireland. Well, what's that all about? But especially those underground cities in Turkey, they have air ventilation systems. They have areas for storing livestock, areas for storing grain. Um, they refuse to let people go to the lower levels. I can't imagine why not. Probably some things down there that would make everyone question reality. Or Petra, that famous, world wonder of the world. That also has an underground city inside of it. Nobody knows about that. Or now you guys know, but some people do. And that there's another entrance into Petra. So, yeah, I don't know. These kind of things you have to ask yourself, like, same with, Göbekli Tepe, like who, is that the one I'm thinking about? Yes, the calendar. Like, you have to ask yourself, how do they know about these things? Who knew to build these underground cities and essentially wait out these cataclysms? You can add that with Moses and the Ark, which is no different than the Indian version of that story with Manu and the Ark. So, all I'm saying is, like, we kind of like to poke fun and criticize the Bible, but at the same time, how often are we ending up finding out the archaeological remains or sites that that were depicted in the Bible? It reminds me of the what's it called? It of the Iliad. Yeah, the Iliad. Is that the one before the Odyssey? I'm pretty sure that is. And the Battle of Troy, and how we end up finding out that the Battle of Troy actually existed. It occurred. It happened. It was a real event. They found part of the wall. So that's just something else to kind of think about when we look at these ancient histories. We look at the Bibles, we look at Gnostic texts, we look at the Bhagavad Gita, whatever it may be. We look into that information, and then we realize by going to these sites where supposedly these incidents occur, you do a little digging, you do a little shifting, the next thing you know, you might just end up finding the truth. So, just something to really think about for everyone out there, just to really be open-minded when it comes to these types of events and situations, because you'd be surprised how much of it is true. And then you start questioning your own credibility in what you believe and don't believe. But enough of a Rōnin rant. Let's get back into it. And here we have another image from Mount Shasta's Forgotten History and Legends, 2016. It is believed that around 12,800 years ago, a giant comet entered our solar system and broke up into many large fragments, which fell the Earth, liquefying masses of ice and causing glacial mega floods and other natural disasters. Isn't that around the same time that Göbekli Tepe was buried? Just saying. Coincidence? And there we have it. The end of part 1. Of Cascadia. The Lost Continent. Now, we'll probably get into part 2 later on in the week. This is really, I've really enjoyed this little article. It's really cool to kind of learn about these type of geological events, and like I said, the reshaping of continents. And like I was saying, these reshaping of continents, contribute to the reshaping of civilizations. And we are kind of in that situation ourselves. The poles are long overdue for a shift. And if that happens during our lifetime, strap yourselves in, because it's going to be one hell of a ride. So that's why with me, it's I kind of hold my breath and kind of take a step back when it comes to like global warming and things of that nature, only because of these types of cataclysmic events. They've happened so often and so frequently, that it doesn't really have to take man to really reshape the world. All it has to take is the planet deciding to reshape itself. And that can be, the rings of fire and all the volcanoes going off. There are certain volcanoes even in Greenland, or Mount St. Helens, or oh God, what is that national park? Yellowstone. People don't realize Yellowstone's a fucking volcano. Excuse me. Oh my God, I should not have swore. I apologize for swearing. It's a volcano. All right. If that volcano goes off, that's a wrap. All right. That's a wrap for everybody. Excuse me. Yeah, sure. North America will be gone, but the rest of the world will slowly die off. People don't know that. I don't know how many people know about. Oh, apologize. Pablo just woke up. I don't know how people know about. Jeez, you good, man? You good? I don't know about how many people know about Yellowstone. Yo, that sweetheart is overdue for an orgasm. All right, I'm telling you right now. And that one is a squirter for sure. That's a wrap. So we get concerned about the certain like man-made situations that we cause, but like, listen, if the San Andreas fault line decides to have a major breakup, I mean, well, goodbye to like a third of the country. So there are major more planetary issues that could reshape the planet than we can. And and to not to get all like kind of political near the end, but just to wrap this all up, like, if people are so concerned about the environment throughout the world, the climate change problems that are going on, then we need to address the fact that the United States government is the #1 polluter in the world. So if you want to address the climate issues that are going on throughout the planet, then you're going to have to stop the American industrial military complex. And that's all I have to say on that matter. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Lounge Rōnin. All things, everything. If you've made it this far and you've enjoyed what you've heard, please hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. And share this out with any like-minded viewers or anyone interested in these aspects of history and geology. And until next time, stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love.